Prince Hall Masons, a history of community service. It's important that we begin by telling you who Prince Hall was. Prince Hall was a former slave living in Boston, Massachusetts. He was born in 1738 in Bridgetown, Barbados. From 1749 to 1970, he was a servant to William Hall, who freed him a month after the Boston Massacre. Hall was self-educated. He was a leather crafter and one of the best caterers in New England. Prince Hall became a confidant of Harvard University professors Masons Dr. William Bentley and Dr. Jeremy Belknap, who were founders of the Massachusetts Historical Society. They introduced him to other Boston citizens and notable Masons such as John Hancock, Paul Revere, and Benjamin Franklin. Prince Hall was a man of vision. He saw that Masons got things done. They were movers and shakers in Boston and as far away as France. Many abolitionists, mayors, scientists, as well as the late 18th century revolutionists were Masons. Hall himself became interested in Freemasonry and sought to join a Masonic lodge. However, due to racial discrimination, he and other African Americans were denied membership in the existing white lodges. Undeterred, on March 6, 1775, Prince Hall and 14 men of color were made Masons in Lodge Number 441 of the Irish Registry, attached to the 38th British Foot Infantry at Castle William Island in Boston Harbor, Massachusetts. It marked the first time that black men were made Masons in America. When the British Army left Boston in 1776, Lodge Number 441 only granted Prince Hall and his brethren authority to meet as African Lodge Number 1 under a dispensation, to march in parades on St. John's Day, and to bury their dead as a lodge, but they could not confer degrees nor perform any other Masonic work. Recognizing they had no authority to make other black Masons, they petitioned the Grand Lodge of England for a charter to establish their own Masonic lodge. In 1784, they received the charter from the Grand Lodge of England, forming African Lodge 451. Prince Hall died on December 4th, 1807, but his legacy endured. Today, Prince Hall Freemasonry remains an integral part of the African American culture and heritage. With lodges across the world, Prince Hall contributions to the African American community aren't widely recognized or celebrated. Almost every state in the Union has a Prince Hall Grand Lodge. All lodges formed under the charter of African Lodge Number 441 are now known as Prince Hall Freemasons in honor of Prince Hall. It is the oldest black Masonic organization. Some say it's the oldest civil rights organization in existence. Here's a few reasons why. Forming other organizations. During Reconstruction, former slaves expressed their freedom by taking control of their educational, religious, economic, and social lives. Institutions, including churches, schools, businesses, and associations, provided infrastructure for African American communities to refuge from white oppression. They also served as a basis for political activism and leadership training. This is a picture of a burial association. These organizations were infused with Prince Hall Masons. Other black organizations we helped form: the African American Methodist Episcopal Church, founded in 1816, Order of the Eastern Star, founded in 1876, the National Afro American League, founded in 1890, the National Association of Colored Women, established in 1896, etc. The below picture in the screen is the Grand United Order of Oddfellows. This is a picture of the Tacoma chapter from 1914. We were there before the struggle. Absalom Jones was an abolitionist and clergyman who became prominent in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Disappointed at the racial discrimination he experienced in a local Methodist church, he founded the Free African Society with Richard Allen in 1787, a mutual aid society for African Americans in the city. When the Civil War promised to end slavery, Boston's 18th Prince Hall Grand Master, Lewis Hayden, and other Masons provided leadership in recruiting blacks to serve in the U.S. colored troops. Masons were very prominent among the 10,000 black Marylanders who fought for their Union. The Lewis and Harriet Hayden House at 66 Phillips, formerly South Tack Street, served as a prominent Underground Railroad safe house in Boston during the 1850s. Major Martin R. Delaney became the highest ranking black officer in the Union Army. He was a district deputy Grand Master for the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ohio and the founder of one of the state's earliest Prince Hall lodges. Check out the documentary Martin Delaney, Father of Black Nationalism on YouTube. After the Civil War, many black soldiers would purchase their guns from the U.S. Army and brought their weapons home. They organized black militia groups that protected communities from violence at the hands of the former supporters of slavery. In Baltimore, they had names such as the Oakland Invincible Guards, the Hugh Lennox Bond Militia, and the Lincoln Zouaves. They kept their weapons in the 5th Regiment Armory. When the 15th Amendment was ratified, guaranteeing blacks the right to vote, a massive celebratory parade was held in Baltimore on May 19, 1870. This was the largest demonstration that black people had ever conducted in this country. The parade took 10,000 marchers and floats all over Baltimore. Many organizations participated. The lead organizer of that march was Prince Hall Grand Master Isaac Myers. The lithographed image of the parade showed men on horseback leading the parade dressed in black suits with top hats. Those were Prince Hall Knight Templar from Baltimore and Philadelphia areas. We were there during the struggle. You can count on that. As we moved into the 20th century, black Masons continued to provide our people leadership and direction, with men like W.E.B. Du Bois, who co founded the NAACP, Paul Robeson, an actor, singer, and civil rights activist, known for the powerful voice and outspoken advocacy against racial injustice, Booker T. Washington, author, educator, orator, philanthropist. And when we began to use the courts to secure our civil rights, the most effective legal advocate was Baltimore Mason Thurgood Marshall, who became the most important African American in the 20th century. But Brother Marshall didn't have to fight the legal battles all alone. In almost every state, he was joined by a local attorney who, in most cases, were also Prince Hall Masons. In South Carolina, there was Harold Boulware. In Tennessee, it was Z. Alexander Luby of Nashville. In Alabama, it was Arthur D. Shores of Birmingham, who has a documentary about him called Defending Freedom, the Arthur D. Shores story. Defending Freedom is an Alabama public television original produced in association with Jacksonville State University, tells the story of the Birmingham native Arthur D. Shores and the impact he had on civil rights movement as one of Alabama's first African American trial attorneys. All of these men were Prince Hall Masons. The great civil rights lawyer of Oklahoma was the Grand Master Amos T. Hall, who for 17 years was the president of the Conference of Grand Masters. Masonic leadership in civil rights has not been limited to lawyers. We know the names: Medgar Evers, Benjamin Hooks, A. Philip Randolph, and our beloved late Congressman John Lewis and Elijah Cummings. We all should know the names We should all know James Weldon Johnson's work. He wrote the great national anthem, "Lift Every Voice and Sing." James Weldon Johnson was also a poet, a composer, an anthologist, an educator, a journalist, a lawyer, a diplomat. He was a Sigma and a Prince Hall Mason. In remembrance of Bloody Sunday, we marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge to show solidarity then and now. In addition to providing lawyers, leaders, and troops, Masonic lodges also supplied important material and logistical support to civil rights organizations and efforts. Many NAACP branches, Urban League offices, and other civil rights organizations were housed in Masonic temples. When it was necessary to get the word out, often the Masons had the only functioning copy machine. In fact, the headquarters for Dr. King's civil rights organization, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, was located inside the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Georgia on Auburn Avenue. Yes, the Masons supplied money, lots of it. We have been assembling the records of the extraordinary amount of money the Prince Hall Masons provided to the civil rights organizations, particularly the NAACP Legal and Educational Defense Fund. So far, we know of more than $400,000 in the 1950s alone. That would be more like 3 million in present day dollars. That money came from lodges, Grand Lodges, the Conference of Grand Masters, and the Prince Hall affiliated groups, including the Eastern Star and Prince Hall Shriners. Thurgood Marshall frequently said that his work on landmark cases such as Brown versus the Board of Education would have been far less effective were it not for the support of the Masons. Here are a few other prominent Masonic icons. Benjamin Mays, who was an educator and minister and one of Martin Luther King's leading voice for social justice and education reform. John Mercer Langston, the first African American elected to public office in the United States. Hiram Rhodes Revels, first African American served in the United States Senate. William H. Hassell, a lawyer, judge, and educator. Hassell was the first African American to serve as governor in the United States Virgin Islands and the first African American federal judge. Alan Leroy Locke, a philosopher, writer, and educator. He was the first African American Rhodes Scholar. John Wesley Dobbs, known as the Mayor of Sweet Auburn. Dobbs was a prominent civil rights leader and political organizer in Atlanta, Georgia. Matthew Henson, an explorer and adventurer, was the first African American to reach the North Pole. Granville Taylor Wells was an American inventor who held more than 50 patents in the United States. He was self-taught and he concentrated most of his work on trains and streetcars. The great Alex Haley, author of the great book, Roots, I'm sorry. Louis Armstrong, jazz trumpeter, and Kwame Mfume, a former executive director of the NAACP and a United States congressman. Martin Luther King Jr. was not a Prince Hall Mason. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., was. His grandfather, Reverend A.D. Williams, and many of King's closest associates, Andrew Young, Julian Bond, Jose Williams, and John Lewis, were Prince Hall Freemasons. And closer to home, we have our own Harold Moss. Harold was the first black mayor of Tacoma, Washington. He was a member of Cassia Lodge Number 5, Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Washington. He was a civil rights champion and a great person. We miss Harold. Prince Hall Men of the Cloth, the Reverend Dr. E.S. Brazil, Richard Allen, Reverend Benjamin F. Davis, who was one of the soldiers who helped establish Shiloh Baptist Church here in Tacoma, the Reverend Dr. Gregory Christopher, the Reverend Jesse T. Osborne, and the Reverend Samuel B. McKinney, all great men of the cloth, Prince Hall Masons. But we weren't there by ourselves. We had our sisters in the Order of the Eastern Star helping us out. The first and sixth Grand Worthy Matron of the Grand Chapter of Order of Eastern Star Washington jurisdiction was none other than Etta Hawkins. She helped lay the groundwork for incorporation of the United Grand Chapter Washington and its jurisdiction. Etta Hawkins also was a founding member of the Seattle NAACP, which was started in 1913 and was one of the earliest branches west of the Mississippi River. If you visit the webpage for the Seattle NAACP and look up the founding members, Etta Hawkins' name is prominently on that page. We also had past Grand Matron Mardine Purnell. She was the 30th Grand Worthy Matron of the Prince Hall Grand Chapter Order of the Eastern Star from 75 to 1978. She was president of the Washington State Association of Colored Members from 67 to 71. She's the co-founder and secretary of the Board of Liberty Bank in 1968. She was president of the Seattle Association of Club Women from 62 to 68, and she co-founded the Seattle Philanthropy Club in 1947. James C. and Mardine Purnell, along with fellow Central District community members, opened Liberty Bank in Seattle in 1968, Washington State's first minority-owned bank. Her husband, James Purnell, with his Lodge brothers, also founded Sentinel Credit Union as part of the efforts to support their community. Their daughter has been tapped to be the new Associate Dean of Inclusion and Diversity for the UW Foster School of Business. We are still here. We still host blood drives. We still give toys away at Christmas and turkey dinners for Thanksgiving. We volunteer for King Day celebrations. We still provide mentorship programs for youth. We still serve our country. We still fight for civil rights, and we still stand for something. And we still make good men better. The Conference of Prince Hall Grand Masters is a conference that meets every year. The Prince Hall Grand Masters from every state that we are in gather together to discuss ways to move the culture forward and ways to improve our existing lodges and improve our existing selves. This is a picture of the 2017 conference in Dallas, Texas. This conference is not all the grandmasters were in this picture. As you can see, it's not enough of us, but uh, I wanted to see if anyone could find me in this picture without any help. Today we have over 4,500 lodges worldwide, forming 45 independent jurisdictions with a membership of over 300,000 Masons. Serving, I was the most worshipful Grand Master Masons for Washington and its jurisdiction from 2016 to 2018, alongside my wife Shirley Brown, who was the Grand Worthy Matron of the Order of the Eastern Star. At the same time, we were only the second couple in over 100 years of our existence who sat in these two seats at the same time. HOJ, or Herons of Jericho, is the other female organization in this order, and it was led by Tammy McCullough at that time. I was and am again the chairman of the Lakewood African American Police Advisory Committee. There are other entries under the Prince Hall umbrella, the ANOMs or the Shriners, Prince Hall Shriners. The York Rite is comprised of three primary bodies, which are the Royal Ark Masons, Council of Royal and Select Masters, and the Commandria Knights Templar, each of which are governed independently but are considered to be part of the York Rite. Lastly, is the United Supreme Council, ancient accepted Scottish Rite Masonry, Prince Hall affiliation. This is the house where the final degree of Masonry is obtained, the coveted 33rd degree, of which I have obtained. The Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Washington jurisdiction has lodges in Canada, England, Germany, Iceland, Kuwait, Turkey, Guam, Republic of Korea, Okinawa, and mainland Japan, and the Republic of the Philippines. Our supreme goal is to render service that will improve the social, cultural, and economic conditions of our fellow man. Oh, regarding college fraternities, overall it's the same. Masons were involved in the founding or early years of the Divine Nine. The Scottish Rite Journal has published several articles demonstrating this. Yet we are not so zealous in the pursuit of glorifying Masonry that we downplay the importance of the other groups. I believe they are all great. We have plenty of members who belong to both groups. Today we have halls in Seattle, Tacoma. We're in the process of redeveloping the Bremerton building due to a fire in an adjoining structure. We also work with the White Grand Lodge of Washington, as referred to the mainstream Freemasons, to establish the Washington State Masonic license plate. To celebrate our brother Prince Hall, not only are our Grand Lodge named after him, the great leader, but a few years ago we put a proper headstone on his grave. Other prominent Masons you may know: Richard Pryor, Lionel Richie, Maya Angelou was the Eastern Star. Uh, the most worshipful past Grandmaster Jerry Butler. Yes, that Jerry Butler. Emmanuel Lewis, Shaquille O'Neal, Ossie Davis, and Benjamin Crump. Excerpts and contributions for this: Larry Gibson, Alabama Public TV, UniqueColoring.com, the Library of Congress, Atlanta History Center, the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Washington Jurisdiction, and more importantly, Google. I want to thank you for your time, and remember, everything that we do is not celebrated, but we do it anyway.